story about her too, but I'm a young guy growing up in the city of Philadelphia, in Logan, 20 years old. I'm working at Wayne Knitting Mill. I'm learning to become a textile designer. I'm at a Sandlot football game, and the war through the crowd, you hear the Japs have bombed Pearl Harbor. I go home, see my mother and dad, and they're all around the radio listening to all the reports coming in from the bombing of Pearl Harbor. My next door neighbor and I decided that we should think about joining the Marine Corps. So the following, I guess it was June or July of the next year, I go down. He refuses to go down, but I go down to the custom house at 2nd and Chester Street, and I sign up. And before I know it, I'm on a train headed for Paris Island for boot training. I think we were there maybe 6 weeks. I know I went 2 weeks to New River to the rifle range. I never knew anything about a rifle. My people were not hunters, so we had no guns in the house, no rifles, no nothing. So I had to learn all about a rifle at New River. I shot expert. Next thing I know, we're being transferred to New River, and we're assigned to K Company 23rd Marines. And they are forming the 4th Marine Division. On the West Coast is the 24th Marines. And we're together in the 23rd, and you get to meet a lot of guys and your friends and what have you. And one of these days they come out and say we're going to divide the 23rd into the 25th. So we formed the 23rd and the 25th at New River, North Carolina. The 24th was forming on the West Coast, and we made the 4th Marine Division. 23rd Marines took the train to California, and the 25th Marines, we were put on ships out of Norfolk, Virginia, and went down through the canal and brought the ships around to San Diego. 23rd, when they got there, they went to Camp Pendleton, and they were in the barracks. 25th, when we got there, they only had tents for us, so we were out at the Santa Margarita Ranch in California forming and training for the first invasion. It took us 18 days when we sailed from San Diego to hit the Marshall Islands. And I have a book here, and our colonel was, Colonel Chambers. Colonel Chambers volunteered the 25th for everything. There was 2 islands that we took, which was Roy and Namur. Roy had the airstrip on it. Namur had the barracks and what have you. But there was another island, maybe 100, maybe 200 yards away from those 2 main islands, and that's where Colonel Chambers volunteered the 25th Marine to land the day before the invasion of the Marshall Islands. And we set up a defense around the island. And we were told to be on guard for any kind of counterattack or anything what happened. Across the causeway on the island of Namur, we saw maybe a half a dozen Japs running around over there. And the machine gunners that were set up around the outside of the islands opened fire on these guys. Well, when the colonel come by, they had piles of shells on their machine. They fired so much ammunition that the ships pulled anchor and sailed out. They thought they were having a counterattack on them. Well, the colonel come by and man, he'd shoot us. Maybe he gave these machine gunners all up. We couldn't reach them. They were that far away. So we invaded the Marshall Islands. It was our first operation for the 4th Marine Division. Again, our colonel volunteered. If you read the Green Book, the 25th Marines went to 53 other islands searching for Japs in that Marshall Island atoll. We didn't get back to Maui until maybe 30 days later after the operation was over. and the 25th went back with dysentery. I guess you all know what dysentery is. Well, we had it. We were quarantined. We couldn't go on Liberty, we couldn't go anywhere. We were quarantined because of the dysentery. But after we got through all that, they got us ready to head for the island of Saipan. And we're on LST this time. We're on LST headed for Saipan. And we got pulled in at Pearl Harbor, and the LSTs were lined up like this, and if you wanted to go up, you had to walk across every one of them. Well, the 24th and the 21st were in one area of the island, 25th was another part of the harbor. Loading ammunition on one of the LSTs, somehow or other it exploded. We lost, they don't tell you about this, we lost maybe 120 to 150 men in Pearl Harbor on the LST fire that they had there. They couldn't get off because they were tied up on one across the other. But anyhow, we sailed out of Pearl Harbor, and we hit Saipan on May 29th, 1944. My buddy George Lindenmuth, my buddy Martinez, and St. Severe, the three of us, or four of us, always working together. We were in a foxhole, we were always close, making sure that nothing happened between any one of us. And we got through the Marshall Islands together, we got through Saipan together. Now, they tell us we got to invade Tinian, which is 3 miles south of Saipan. And that's the island where they flew the bomber that dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima. It took us a little while in Saipan. One very sad case I had on Saipan was, and you'll read about it if you look at that book, Hill 500. Hill 500 was a problem. They had the high ground. They knew everything that we were moving. They could send their mortars or attack our artillery shells. And in the book it tells you that Colonel Chambers, after he tried to take it the first day, he couldn't get up the hill. Next day he told me, he said, we're going up that hill today, so get ready. And that's where I lost my very good friend, Kirby from Virginia, one of my buddies that I had met him. He got shot there. When we got to the end of Saipan, they didn't want to be captured, and they literally jumped off the cliffs into the sea and drowned. We waited till July 24th. We're regrouping now on Saipan. On July 24th, we're going to invade the island of Tinian. 23rd, 25th, 24th. 2nd Marine Division, they used them to put a decoy up down at Tinian town. They thought that we were going to land in Tinian town, and instead, on the other end of the island, there was a 65-yard beach and it was a 160-yard beach. And that's where they landed the 23rd Marines and the 25th Marines. And we had to actually go up at like a cliff in order to get up on the ground, because we landed with no problem at all, because they didn't think we were going to hit there. They thought we were going to come in on Tinian. First night on Tinian, I can remember just like it was yesterday. 24th Marines on our left, 25th here, 23rd over here, and we're moving this way on the island. And the 24th sets up barbed wire in front of their lines. That night when they counterattacked us, they hit us right where the barbed wire ended. That's where our company was planted. In the book, I'll tell you, we lost 2 machine gunners, killed 165 Japs down in front of their machine gun. They broke through our lines there, got into the back part of the battalion. Raceville kind of held back there. But we finally secured Tinian, and back to Maui we go to regroup with a big operation, which is Iwo Jima. When they told us we were going to hit Iwo Jima, nobody, Iwo Jima, what the heck is Iwo Jima? Who knows anything about Iwo Jima? It was was an island that nobody knew anything about. But they had the maps and all, and they showed us the plan of attack. Again, K Company, my company, first wave in, we were to hit the Yellow Beach, Blue Beach, one of the beaches. Move in and swing right. There was a quarry here. Picture of a big quarry here. On our left is Mount Suribachi. And they could see everything that's on the beach. There was no answer about anything that moved they saw. Well, we got up that next day, we come topside, and all we could see was Mount Suribachi and the island. We got into our tractors. That's what they took us in, what they call tractors, alligators, most of you guys know that. And we headed into the beach. And it was quiet. I mean, there was some firing going on, but really was by the Navy ships that were bombarding the island. We got in, first wave got in without any problems. Second wave got in. And we started to get a lot of men in on the beach. That's when they opened fire on us. They're in the high ground here, quarry here, and they're literally hitting the beach with fire. We couldn't move. We were lucky we had the bomb craters that our Navy and Air Force gave us that we could get into. I jumped into a hole, and one of my sergeants was in there, what did I think of his name, Johnson. He pulled out a cigarette. He said, "Here, better have a smoke." He said, "We're having fire over our heads, machine gun fire." I said, "Johnson, it's no time to have a cigarette. I don't smoke now. I'm not going to start smoking now." I said, "We're in trouble now. Let's just keep on." We lost. We wound up with less than 80 men that first day. A company of 250 of them. Every officer is down. Every NCO is down but me. I'm the highest ranking NCO in the company. Platoon sergeant. We got to move out. This is on the 19th of February. We can't move off the island. We can't move. Meantime, more supplies is coming in, and they're wiping us out. I mean, they're blowing up the tanks, they're doing everything. We can't move, can't go forward. We have to go to the airstrip, and cross the airstrip, and then swing right. The 5th Marine Division will go up the volcano, up Mount Suribachi. We can't get off the beach. That's the 19th. The 20th, we're still on the beach, trying to get off the beach. And on the 21st, they sent a lieutenant up from headquarters, and he took what was left of K Company. He took half, and I took half. He said, "We got to move. The orders is coming out from the colonel that we got to get off the beach." So he said, "Lindy," that's what they call me, "Lindy, I want you to go out and find out where troops are to our left, and then find out where they are on our right, and you fill in with whatever men you have between the two spaces." So I went looking for what was on my left. I found a pothole with guys in it, and I asked them what company were. They told me, so I got out of there. And as I got out of there, I took one through the chest. I laid down in front of a toolbox with a big machine gun sticking out of it, and I thought, "Man, if there's any gaps in there now, I'm done for sure." And I laid there bleeding. While the guys come out looking for me, found me, got a corpsman up, got me on a stretcher, got me back where they could put me on an amphibious duck, take me back to the beach. Everybody knows what amphibious duck is. They opened fire on the duck, and I'm on a stretcher on the duck, and everybody gets off the duck and leaves me on the duck. They're all taking cover. Well, I get down, finally get down to the beach, and they have sandbags around so we can put the wounded in sandbags, and I'm laying in the sandbag waiting to be transport to a hospital ship out in the bay. I'm told by the corpsman that the last Higgins boat is going off the island to get out to the hospital ships, and I was going to be put on that. I had a blood plasma going on me and all this good stuff. I get on the Higgins boat, and we get out to the first hospital ship, and they holler down, "Can't take you aboard, we got to pull anchor, Japs are coming over to wipe us out." So we went to the next ship. "Can't take you on board, gotta get out of here, the Japs are coming over." Went to the next ship, saw the same thing. So the Navy guy that was in charge of the Higgins boat, all the main ships pulled anchor and went out to sea, left us on this Higgins boat, and we sailed in that harbor all night till 11 o'clock the next day before I got aboard the ship. As soon as I got aboard topside, the doctor looked at me and said, "Get him down, he's got a collapsed lung." They took me down and worked on me on the ship. I wound up on the island of Saipan in the Army Field Hospital. Funny incident when there was, we were to go on the, trying to think of the aircraft carrier that got bombed and really nearly destroyed in the Battle of Midway. But what? Could have been, yes. That was coming in to Saipan to pick up the wounded and take them back to Pearl Harbor, to the hospital. That day at lunchtime, whoever was in the kitchen, they must have got help from the natives that were on the island. They did something to the rice pudding. Because at noontime for dessert, we had rice pudding, and everybody, including the doctors and nurses, were throwing up from the rice pudding, whatever they did. So we didn't get off the island of Saipan on that aircraft carrier. We laid there until they sent another ship up from Pearl Harbor to get the wounded. I got back to Hawaii on the Aida Heights Hospital. I was, I guess, 4 months there in the hospital recovering from the gunshot wound. From there I went to Oakland, California to the Naval Hospital there. From Oakland, California I went to Portsmouth, Virginia to the Navy Hospital there. And we dropped the bomb. 2 days later, they sent me up to the captain. They asked, they said, "What do you want to do, son? You want to go home or you want to go to the Philadelphia Navy Yard?" I said, "I want to go home." So that's August 17, 1945, I was sent home from the war. But I got to tell you a very funny story that happened in, don't get upset, in New River. We got a 4-day leave to go home before we sailed to California. And if you know, gas was tight, you had blackouts, you had all these things that we went. We got to Wilson, North Carolina, and the conductor said, "They're not stopping here because they're loaded coming up from Florida. They're only going to stop at Rocky Mountain, North Carolina." So 5 of us went to a cabby and said to him, "We got to get to Rocky Mountain, North Carolina." He said, "I can only take you halfway because of the gas ration, but I'll get the cab to meet us, pick you up and take you to Rocky Mountain." Fine, get in the cab and we head for Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, and we hit a blackout. And we said to the cabby, "We got to get there, we got to get there, you got to keep going." We did, hit a tractor trailer parked in the middle of the road. 2 guys in the front went through the windshield. 3 of us in the back. I put my teeth through my tongue. I get to the Rocky Mountain Hospital, and they made me sign a waiver, so I wouldn't sue, I guess, the cat company or something. And we get, train pulls in the Rocky Mountain, and the conductor said, "Can't take anybody aboard, we're loaded." This guy, I don't know where he came from, grabbed a buddy, put his NP badge writing and no casual acquaintance before. I call and her mother answers the phone. I said, "What's up, Daddy?" She's down the shore with her other boyfriend. Baby, I'm home, 4 days, out of my tongue. Can't do anything about it because she's down the shore with her. She was down. She says with her girlfriend. I can't tell you that. I never knew that. But anyhow, we finally did meet up. Well, it's another funny story. I get to California, call her on the phone, reverse the charges. I get home, first thing her mother says to me, "You owe me $75." I said, "Well, reverse charges." That was a lot of money, doesn't it? Yeah, but you know, not for a phone bill. I had to put gas in my car. It was $40. I can remember when I was a kid, we'd give a guy 10 cents and take us to Carson Simpson Farms and swim for 10 cents. Gallon of gas was 11 cents. Any questions on my experience with the Corps?
Where did this happen?
What? The wound? I was wounded on Iwo Jima.
Oh,
That was my only problem. I never saw the end of that battle. I think they raised the flag on the 22nd. I was out of there on the 21st.
One question, pinned down on the beach like you were, did they try to move both right and left at night
No.
when movement couldn't be seen?
No, we never advanced to an evening. Always had a password, and always a word that the Japs couldn't speak, so that anybody moved, we figured it was the enemy. No, we never moved at nighttime. Never tried.
Were they trying to bomb up there at all?
Trying to bomb where?
Well, you said you were down on the beach.
We're down on the beach. They got the high ground.
So we're
Anything that moved, they opened fire.
or did they try to bomb the Japs up above?
They couldn't. They had an elevator system on the Mount Suribachi that they would fire the gun from here and then drop it down and fire from here. The Navy would be firing up here and the gun would be down there. They fire down there, they move it back up here. They had such a cage system over there. You can't believe how they moved everything through the caves. And that was the other problem. We had guys looking with the cave looking for souvenirs that never come out. They were in there waiting.
Any other questions?
Go ahead, man.
When you were wounded and came into San Diego, then you came by train across the country. You didn't go back through the...
No, when I was wounded and I was in Oakland, California, we went by train. We stopped, had a car for us. We stopped, I think, in Chicago. And from Chicago, they took us down to Portsmouth. And they put us in barracks in the hospital down there, recuperating.
Any other questions for John?
How was the medical treatment in the hospitals?
Oh, excellent, excellent. No problem at all. Yeah, they did everything good to take care of us.
The doctors knew exactly
Oh, yeah.
what they were doing.
Oh, yeah. And the nurses too.
It's more than it's happening in our hospitals now.
Oh, yeah, I just had a couple of years ago, I had a double bypass in Abington here. And today, think about the love it. I mean, you go in and take your heart out and play with it, fix it up, and put it back in. It's fine. Look how they do with my wife has 2 artificial knees. I mean, you didn't think of that years back then. Replace organs like that.
number one, what's at the Valley Forge Medical Hospital?
Pardon?
Valley Forge Medical Hospital.
Who you did? No. Once I was surveyed out, I'd come home and I was checked by the VA, like I still am. I still have to go to the clinic over in Fairmont Road Road.
Thank you for coming here today, John.
No problem.
this afternoon, and I hope you enjoyed it. And take care. Don't forget the donation jar on the way out, please. Thank you.
I'm on my way.
It's all right. I don't think we have a problem with over-attendance.
No, no, I know you don't have that. See you next month. All right. See you too.
We have about 15, you know, about 10 of them.
Did you go to Wagner Bowl?
Yeah. Oh, there's a couple.
Oh, she went down.
That was me.
1938. I graduated in 39. Thank you.
I put it back by the stand.
I just want to know. No, accident. How'd the filming go? That's
Two piles, and I just put one pile.
Yeah.
don't stand up, let's salute the flag. All right.
Sorry about that. First off, good evening. Thank you for coming. Again, I got word today that Ernie Bryden's ill and wasn't able to come this evening, so that's the only word I received. But I apologize for everyone who came out to see him speak. But we do have another World War II veteran that grew up with Ernie that's going to share his story. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America. To the republic right. Ernie had to be the second kid in our candy store to join Marines. I wound up in the Army. At the time, I was working in my father's sheet metal place, and we had a government contract, the airfield down in Washington, bowling. So it gave me 6 months leave before I was inducted. I recall my mother had to take me up to Harrisburg to see the General Hershey, and he gave me a 6-month leave.
You're having this problem, like,
Well, you know, how's this? Better? Okay. I was inducted in May of 1942, and I went sent up from Indiantown. I went out to Colorado, and I was in the 629th Engineers. I went through basic, and then we went down to Tennessee on maneuvers, and we practiced with the 101st at that time. I recall that it was a very foggy day, and the 101st had jumped, and about 100 of the kids all landed on a concrete highway with broken ankles. It was a terrible sight. They didn't have enough ambulances. I recall that. Now, and from there, we were sent up to Camp Shanks, and then I was sent on to England. Now, in England, I was transferred into the 181st Combat Engineers. I had my schooling, I went to Drexel in the evening, 1937, 38, for mechanical engineering. So I had a little instinct as far as engineering was concerned. And I went to a school in England to learn bridge building. Well, it was a new experience. I started learning about pontoons, plus pneumatic floats we had, and I excelled. Well, all I recall is we had maneuvers in England.
What's that to come in?
Right outside of Reading, also again with the 101st, and we learned assault landings. Remember, we were engineers. We had to do everything. Well, prior to D-Day, they sent us down to, you have to excuse me, I'm starting to forget, I'm only 80, I'll be 89. It was right on the sea. We began with a B. Brighton. We shipped out of Brighton. Now, I went over on an LS, ST, it's where the front goes down. And we went over on the 6th Tuesday. We went, well, that night, Monday night, and it was pretty rough. All I recall is I felt near the shore, A company and B company. We were I was in a battalion, and we had 5 companies, 4 lines, and 1 headquarters. And my company was held back for reserve. The idea was the first 2 companies would go in. Now, each man was given heavy leather gloves with steel cutters, because we had to cut the concertina. It was our job to cut the concertina wire. Now, I have to say this, I couldn't swim. Okay, I'll come to the little bit later. Well, I laid out on that ship for 2 solid days, till Thursday morning, the 8th of June. And all I can remember is incoming mail and outgoing mail. And my ears were humming away. And, but just to see the sight, all the ships, it was remarkable. Now, we landed on Thursday morning, the 8th. And I have to say this, A and B company was decimated. We lost every man in A and B. Our 2 companies, C and D, were the remainders. When we landed at the beach, I remember when the front end went down, we landed in a, I guess you call it a lagoon, and I had to jump in that water. Well, the water clumped to my neck, but I was loaded down, I had a couple of grenades on me and my bandoliers, and the M1, that's the one I protected. And all I can remember, when we got to the beach, there was a beach master there, a Navy man, and he directed us, and we had to jump. We jumped into ducks. You people know what a duck is, amphibious duck. Okay. Now, we headed for the first town. Oh boy, it began with a C. Carrington, that's where first was there already. That's where those women were up in the churches, sharpshootings, German sharpshooters. And we had to put a bridge across a small river right on the outside of Carrington. And then I remember from Carrington, we went on to, and I'm going to remember this day, July, because July the 15th, my sister should remember, she got married that day, and I was at St. Lo, and we were there for about 3 weeks. Now I must say this, they zeroed in on our Bailey Bridge. We lost Bailey every night. It got to the point they had no more bridge equipment at the dump, and the lineys were flying in more Bailey. It was all being parachuted in. That's the only way we could get equipment. But the Krauts they had us zeroed in. Then after St. Lo, we then moved to Paris. Okay, now I must say this. When I landed, we were in the 1st Army, 7th Corps. But when we got to Paris, they put us in the 3rd Army under Patton, because we were Corps engineers. And we had to wait outside of Paris for the French armor to enter Paris. We let it's General Leclerc, I think he was the 1st general. Well, anyway, we met the French girls, naturally, for 2 days. It's a funny thing, I had 1 year of French at Northeast, and I finished at 37, but I never believed that I would ever use that language again until I got to France. Well, the boys in my outfit, I could speak a little Jewish because it was German and, it was close. So between French and German, I managed to hustle wives. I got eggs for my men, and what what else again? No bread, coffee we had, and I would barter with the women. Now, and we would get a little cognac, and we gave them our sea rations. That was the worst. But anyway, after Paris, we moved on to Compiègne, France. Now here's where I tell you a story. We were going down the street of Compiègne. We had just finished the bridge. I think it was the Moselle River or something. I forget what it meant. I don't remember that. Well, anyway, I meet a Yank from World War I. And, you know, how you fellas Yank. And what's the wind-up? He went to Northeast High School. He was a leftover from World War I. He married a French, he stayed and married a French girl, and he opened a couple of bars. Well, the wind-up was, he lived at 2600 North 8th Street. I lived 2300 or 9th Street, 9th and Dolphin I lived at that time, like 4 blocks away. But I would always pass his house going to school. So, you know, we became very friendly, we're buddies, we're local boys. He treated my buddy and me. I have to tell you, upstairs, it was a brothel, a $1 brothel. He treated, I didn't have to pay. He treated us, after all, we're from Philadelphia. So that was my treat in, what's the name of the town? The Compiègne at that time. Okay, after Compiègne, we then moved up to, we went up to Brussels, through France, and into Belgium, up around near Liège. We loaded a trolley car with explosives going into Aachen. It was a trolley, an old railroad line. The Germans had built a bunker, a concrete bunker. You know what? We had armor there, direct fire, and the shells were just ricocheting right off the bunker because it was what they call geodetic design, something like that. Anyway, and the Air Force, the fighters and bombers were coming, they were bouncing. You could actually see them bounce. Eventually we loaded up an old trolley car and blew it open. That did the trick. So after that city was called Aachen. That was the entrance to Germany, right before the Siegfried line. Anyway, we then went through. We put up another bridge on the other side of Aachen. That's the name of the town. Then, I must say this. We then headed towards Bonn, Germany. This was on the Rhine River. Now this was, that was later, I'm sorry. That was in March, I should say. Okay, we went into Belgium. We were at St. Vith during the battle of what they call the Battle of the Bulge. I belong to an organization. We have a gentleman, he's not here, from another group, the afternoon group. He belongs with me. We're the survivors in the Battle of the Bulge. When it first started, we had about 200 members. Right now, we have about, I guess about 60. And we meet every month, the third Thursday of the month. We meet down the Coast Guard station, down on Delaware Avenue. They treat us very nicely. And actually, we're all getting old. We're all in our 80s now. And most of the men, I will say, are from the 106. They were the POWs. They got hit the worst. And we have a couple of 28 Division men who were also prisoners. I was lucky. I was never a prisoner. The only one I had to watch out for was the SS. Because I was Jewish and all my dog tag is still carried. It's got an H on there. Now, ever see this type of identification? See that little niche in there? People know what that niche is for. That niche is for the graves registration man. So when a man gets killed, this is placed in his mouth, and open his mouth, and they see they see the identification, whether he's Catholic, Protestant. Now, in our battalion, we had a Catholic Catholic priest from Chicago. Man, he could talk Hebrew. He took care of the Protestant boy, the Jewish boy. He was an all-around Joe. But now, let's see. I won't go my gun. When we were up in St. Vith, outside of St. Vith, and people, you folks, I have to tell you, the temperature was like 40 below. It was so cold in the morning. We always had to go to the latrine. I couldn't go to the latrine. My body was frozen. Until you urinated. Until you had what we did, I have to say this, we urinated into the barrels of our rifle because there was frost on there. And then the fellows that were there, it was so cold, you couldn't wear a glove, but if you didn't wear gloves, your fingers would fall off. If you tried to touch the steel, it would stick to the steel. It wasn't easy. Oh, I can remember that cold. I wound up in trench foot. We were there. It started on the day, December the 16th. It's funny, on the 12th of December, I was on a roadblock and we had machine guns set up. We had 250s, they're all our engineers, and we had one bazooka. We had it was a Mark IV tank come down the road. And we had a kid from Chicago. He grabbed the bazooka, and he bullseye with a bullseye. He caught it right in the front belly and knocked out the tank. Well, that was a bonus for all of us, naturally. But 2 hours later, the buzzers were coming in. Now, a buzz bomb, you could see it when the sky was clear. You could hear it. Now, when it's foggy or at nighttime, you can't see it unless you look for the flames shooting out in the exhaust. We got hit with a buzz bomb right at the crossroad. We lost both machine guns, and we lost a kid from Atlantic City. He was on it. We had a hole in the ground, maybe 75 foot in diameter, and one of our vehicles was down in the hole. But so as far as the bulge was concerned, the Germans, on the 12th, actually I was on the 12th, on the 16th, that was the day they broke through. The word went to all the troops. Look out for the Krauts. They were wearing white uniforms. And I say this, we had a password that had to be changed. And if you didn't know the password, man, I shoot first, then I ask questions. We bumped in. My buddy did, Stush, he caught this guy, this Kraut, who was well versed about baseball, but he goofed a little. Why? He told Stosh he was from Chicago. Well, Stosh Bykowski lived in Harvey, Illinois. It's like a suburb of Chicago. And Stosh was one of these tough Poles, a good guy. So he's asking this guy, he asked him at that time, the Cubs. He asked him about certain players. Oh yeah, you know him now. When Stosh came, this guy didn't look kosher to him. So he asked him had the champagne, we were drunk. We loaded ourselves. Okay, now, from Pond to Pond, we had salt baths. We were treated to the best. Okay, you hear it? Okay, I'm sorry. Now, after Pond to Pond, we then went up on March the 10th. I guess you people heard of Remagen. Okay. The 10th Armored had grabbed the bridge. Now, we had 8 battalions of engineers. It took us 24 hours to get a bridge across that river. And we were fighting an 11-mile current. And what we were doing, we had metal pontoons in aluminum. We were mashing 3 of them together, and then we had assault boats with Mercury 125 engines, taking them downstream. And eventually, we used the rubber pneumatic 2 boats. And what else do we have? And we used Bailey. I came up with an idea. I was getting no Silver Star for it. So our tanks went off our catwalk. We had a 12 by 12 runner on each side of the drive. And what I did, I had taken some old tomato cans, 1 gallon tomato cans, because I was sheet metal. I cut it out like an arrow, and then I made a little canister. I put diesel fuel in there with a wick. And how I got the wick, I cut the strap from one of the trucks. And put a little hood on it. You couldn't see the light from the air, only the tanker could. And it was an arrow just to guide him. So he stayed right on that pipe. And what I want to say is this. I had a 24-year-old major. And that afternoon, the German 109s came in on a slam. In fact, that was the last I ever saw the German air Luftwaffe. And all I can remember is my major got killed. He was 24 years old. I have to say this. My whole battalion cried. He knew my first name. He knew every man's first name. He was that kind of a guy. His father was a 2-star general under Eisenhower, and he could have had a job at the Pentagon. He wanted a line company, so he got it. And we named the bridge after him. He caught 1 bullet right between the eyes. We called it the Thompson Bridge. There were 4 guys killed from the aircraft, but we put it in his honor. After the Remagen had in March the 10th, we then moved pretty fast. And we met the Russians up on the Elbe River. The name of the city was Torgau, something like that. Torgau. And we met the Russians, the women, most of the soldiers were women. They were crazy men. They drunk. Everybody drinks vodka. And so for me, that was the end of the war. Now, I had to come back. I was then, my outfit, incidentally, was going to the CPI. Yeah, I was transferred. I was a sergeant then, and I had to take 9 trailers and pontoons, and with two drivers each vehicle, and take it back to Brussels, Belgium. Well, Stas was coming back. So because I could speak a little French and German, we had loot laying around. We had German artillery carriers with Dunlop tires. Well, we stripped all the tires, good tires. Back later on, in my business, I had 9 trucks. That's all I would buy is Dunlop tires. They were good tires. We had motorcycles. I had torches, like what a painter uses, a hand torch. They were used for little field expediency that making a little field range. What else did we have? Anything we get our hands on. I 200 PWs, German PWs. 199 were from the countryside, and they were engineers and all, but I'll tell you, they were plain individuals just like me. And they were given a gun and never made a gun. Well, anyway, I had one son that gun. He was from Berlin. You benign Berlin, and you know, with the nose in the air, he looked down on the other 199. Now, with my my Yiddish German, I got along with the guys all understood me, and we got along great. So I had to let the German know, I'm the Jew with the sergeant's stripes, I'm the Jew with the 45, now let's talk. And you know what? He shut up. And he didn't bother me, that was it. I got the job done. And the day we were done, General Motors took over both buildings because they were processing all the vehicles and tanks going to the CPI. Now, when the job was done, I went up to the office and I saw the colonel. I said, hey, I think I'm due for a little R&R. So he gave me a pass for 2 weeks to Monica. Where am I? Nice and Monica. The casinos were closed then. Anyway, I had a great time, and then I overstayed my leave. I fell in love with a French girl, and I stayed a month. So my 2 weeks of over leave, when I got back, the colonel broke me from sergeant to private, and he had to punish me. So they sent me to the University of Edinburgh, in Glasgow, Scotland. Okay, they called it 2 MPs in, and they both took me to La Havre, France, to make sure that I got on that ship. And now I had to go to a medical, and there was a captain from Ardmore, I'll never forget that. He okayed it, get on. Now the ship took us to Southampton, England. From there I took a train up to London. I stayed overnight and went up to Edinburgh. Well, I went to school at Edinburgh. I enjoyed it, but I also had a good time. I was a jitterbug in those days. And the Scotch girls, you could teach them. And they were husky. Most of the girls, they all had uniforms. Either if they worked on the farm, they were known as the Women's Land Army. And these girls were muscle-bound. Ooh, I could vouch. And if the girls worked in the hospitals, they came under the RN, the Royal Navy. And I went down to Blackpool, England. That's the Atlantic city of England. I had the war. I felt at ease because the war was over. And I guess I could scream at them too. The only thing it was, when I came home, the first, first couple months, at night, if a plane went overhead, I hit the dirt. But otherwise, that's all I can say. That's my experience. I came home, and I went back into the business. I was a kid. Now I also